I'm scared my marriage has run its course. TLDR, my autistic husband and I have been together a really long time, and I don't know how much more I can take. Okay, this got way longer than I anticipated. My 37M husband and I, 36F, have been together since we were 17/18. My husband is autistic, which is something we both figured out in adulthood. To be quite honest, he wasn't all that nice to me when our relationship started, but I was head over heels and just wanted him to like me. I just figured he was aloof. We've grown together in a lot of ways. He can be a very loving, affectionate person. I know love languages are bullshit, but if they were, then acts of service and gifts would be how he expresses love. He's always buying me random things, running me hot baths, and all sorts of stuff, but it's the emotional issues we're having. He's very literal and very black and white, whereas I'm more about nuance and emotionally driven. His ability to have strong boundaries has been good. This adds balance to our relationship, but it also adds a lot of friction when we aren't seeing eye to eye, specifically about parenting. However, he is tense and stressed all the time. This is not me assuming this. This is what he told me. I've told him I can feel it when he's tense and stressed. He goes from being really affectionate and loving to very distant and quiet in an instant. I've tried talking to him about it, but he always turns it around and tells me he feels like I'm critiquing him. When I try to explain, you get really cold and distant very quickly. He makes me feel like I'm crazy. But the way he types texts to me, the way he interacts with me totally change. He doesn't believe it, but for example, he'll go from sending random little texts to no communication and very formal writing. Then he just says he feels like he's not allowed to be anything but always happy. I've tried to say there's a difference, but he honest to God cannot comprehend it. Yet he asks me to be communicative and tell him when something is bothering me, but I always am the one who winds up apologizing. Then he will be cold and distant until he decides he's ready to move past it. He admits to always being stressed. I've been telling him he needs to actively do something about it, get counseling, or talk to his doctor. It's noticeable enough that throughout our relationship, people have asked me if I'm okay or if he's angry because it's obvious, but it's also his default. I've tried really hard to improve myself. I've gotten therapy. I'm on medication to manage my depression. I'm active. I cook and clean and just generally try to be a good wife. We have a 6-year-old who is awesome, but he can be way too rigid and always gets into power struggles with him, which are almost always avoidable. I've had to remind him a lot. He's 6. We also haven't slept in the same bed other than when our son has gone for sleepovers since he was a baby. He sleeps on the couch and quite honestly, he would be perfectly fine sleeping there forever because he likes how firm it is. He had said early in our relationship we could just sleep in separate beds, his parents did, and I was super not okay with it. But some of the things I once loved about him now just make me so angry. We've been arguing a lot more. It feels like it's happening every week. We're stuck in a cycle, and he never reacts well when I try to bring it up or talk it through. Sometimes I feel like we got married too young. I never got to experience a lot because I was always so preoccupied with spending any time I could with him because he was so busy with work and university, and I wound up missing out on my 20s. I'm not even interested in being with anyone else. I just want to be alone. But I do love him. I feel guilty because he really does a lot to be a good husband and father. But I would trade all the little random gifts he gets me for more emotional stability. I don't need those things. The only issue with couples counseling is that because of how he is social from being autistic, he isn't someone who really gets a lot of the emotional stuff.